Fleur Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I know that you will be very interested, despite this late hour, to hear the shocking story I am about to tell you in this first ever parliamentary debate on a health scandal which is affecting at least 47,000 women across this country in one way or another. Now, when I've been telling people that I'm about to call for this debate, it seems that most people like me remember stories about the breast implant scandal from quite a few years ago. And like them, I thought that this had been dealt with. The women had been recalled, supported, removed, the breast implants removed if necessary. But no. A few months ago, local resident Jan Spivey from Putney came to my surgery with her shocking story. She is a victim of the PIP breast implant scandal, and she's had years of illness as a result. She also leads the national PIP Action campaign. And I would like to start by thanking Jan, Louise, Wendy and Diane for all their work that they've done to lead this campaign. And to all the women who have written to me in advance of this debate telling me their stories. And to the relatives of the young women who have died as a result of this scandal. And to the journalists who have exposed this. Doctors estimate that unless action is taken, there will be a peak of implant-related cancer deaths in 2026. Thousands of women and their families have been failed by the implant companies that knew they were dangerous, by the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency that should never have allowed it to happen, by the medical clinics that restructured to avoid their duty for care for PIP patients and got away with it, by the government that failed to take action over a decade ago when all the evidence was there. But this just makes me angry because I think it's because it's a women's health issue, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I don't think it would have happened if all of these men had been affected. I think there would have been action taken by now. Instead, there have been women suffering and dying in silence. So, PIP stands for Poly-Implant Prothèse and was once the third biggest supplier of breast implants in the world, making an estimated 2 million sets of implants over 20 years. Following reports of abnormally high rupture rates, it was found in 2010 that the manufacturer had been filling implants with a substandard silicone gel made of a cocktail of chemicals intended for mattresses and not cleared for human use.
Oh my goodness.
The company went into liquidation in 2010 and its founder, Jean-Claude Masse, was convicted of aggravated fraud and sentenced to 4 years in prison in 2013. The French government offered to pay for the removal and replacement of all PIP implants fitted in France. And after a decade-long battle, in 2021, a French court ruled that 2,500 victims are owed compensation. At the same time, 47,000 women in the UK have had PIP implants, but they haven't been contacted to be told about the risks. Some have been offered and undergone removal, but many more have not been told about the risks of other illnesses and the links to cancer. They haven't had the options. I certainly will.
Thank you.
I'm incredibly grateful for my honourable friend for raising this debate because I really don't think the general public know of the risks. But those 47,000 women do know. And does she also share my concern that the mental health toll this is putting on is almost as bad as the health risks that they have?
Laura.
I absolutely agree with my honourable friend. And just knowing that you've got that ticking time bomb, potentially, of something inside your body that may be causing poison to you is extremely worrying, huge anxiety. But many women have not been told of the impact as well. And so they haven't been told by their GP, for example, of the links between this in their body and what they're experiencing. Victims have reported a huge range of mental and physical health issues, including extreme pain, inflammation, headaches, infections, anxiety, digestive and sight issues, severe exhaustion and low energy. Many women suffered for years before realising that their health issues were a direct result of their faulty implants. GPs often aren't putting the two together and there isn't the right information for them. One woman told me, and she is an example of many, many other stories I heard. She said, "I had the PIP implants placed in January 2009. Within a very short time, I suffered from shortness of breath, heart palpitations, extreme fatigue, and my joints were swelling up, to name just a few symptoms. I was in and out of hospital for breathing difficulties and pains in my chest. At no stage were any of my symptoms ever recognised, and I was told to take painkillers, or it's just your age. She said I had the implants replaced in 2013 at my expense from the same company because they would not take any responsibility. She still has most of the capsules from the PIP implants, which she believes is still affecting her today, and her health has been compromised. Her quality of life has taken a toll due to the hazardous chemicals that remain inside her chest. Women told me about being told that their implants were absolutely safe, were water-based, and then their illness were not being listened to. They were often misdiagnosed and in so much pain. One woman told me of her 17 years of hell, as she put it, Mr. Deputy Speaker, including that she could barely walk for 2 years, she had sight loss and digestive issues. She felt she was slowly dying inside from 2004, when the implants were put in, until September 2021, where the capsules were removed and she had her life back. There is also a very serious impact of this link with cancer called breast implant associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma, shortened to BIA-ALCL, which is a rare type of cancer of the immune system. Susan Grieve, a mother of 2 young children, was the first person in the UK to have been recorded as dying from BIA-ALCL in 2013. As of 31st of December 2021, the MHRA have received 81 reports of confirmed BIA-ALCL. So my first ask of the Minister is to review this link with cancer and to review the NHS website guidance. There's a long list of peer-reviewed papers that I did have in this speech to start with, but it was just too long to include, which evidences the list with cancer in the UK and also internationally. But the NHS website mentions 6 times that there's no cause for concern for women with PIP implants. It does say there's a high risk of rupturing, but it should very clearly explain the link with cancer to avoid GPs and PIP victims missing this important link and then making a diagnosis too late. One such diagnosis came too late for 36-year-old Lydia Bennett, who died from BIA-ALCL in 2019. But her family were not informed that Lydia had died from breast cancer until 2022. The MHRA did set up the Plastic, Reconstructive and Aesthetic Surgery Expert Advisory Group, and based on their advice, the MHRA issued several medical device alerts, stating that patients undergoing breast implants for any reason should be warned about BIA-ALCL before the operation. But this just does not go far enough, Mr. Deputy Speaker. By contrast, for example, in America in 2021, the Food and Drug Administration made the links very clear and have placed so-called black box labels on breast implants, warning that they have been linked to a host of chronic medical conditions, including autoimmune disease, joint pain, mental confusion, muscle aches and chronic fatigue, as well as to lymphoma. The Minister replied to my written questions about concerns about PIP implants last November, citing 2 reports from the MHRA in 2010 and 2012, which seem to be the basis for deciding that there isn't a risk and putting this guidance on the website. But so much more evidence has come to light since then. So I would like to know if the Minister has a view on the new evidence, why this has not been taken into account. And actual evidence buried away in the website contradicts this view that people with PIP breast implants don't need to worry. The risks are clear, well evidenced, and women should be told the truth. My second ask is that there needs to be a register, and this register needs to be used. The government's initial response to the scandal in 2010 was to issue a medical device alert to all UK clinicians and cosmetic surgery providers, asking them to cease use of the implants, but not to proactively offer advice or removal or support for women who'd had the implants, and that support has fallen short ever since. The government conducted the Howe report into the PIP breast implants in 2012, and the KEO review of the wider system of regulation for cosmetic interventions, and looked into whether a breast implant registry could be put in place in this country. Both of these reviews promised action that has not been taken. Neither addressed the need to recall the PIP implants and let women know about the risks, let alone even go into the area of compensation for the women affected. All the women should be on a register and contacted proactively. There is no central register now. Since 2016, there has been a breast and cosmetic implants registry which collects data for England and Scotland. But the problem is, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that women who had their PIP implants removed or replaced up until 2016 are not included on this registry. In the February 2014 government response to the KEO review, 3 recommendations were singled out for agreement by the government, and one of them was this: creating a breast implant registry to reassure women that if problems arise, they can be contacted, kept informed, and called in for treatment if necessary. Called in for treatment.
Yeah, yeah.
But even the limited new register has not been used to proactively contact all women on the register, to offer them medical checkups, to advise them of the links between cancer and other illnesses, and, if suitable, to offer them removal of implants. Now, officially, I think the Minister is going to tell me very soon, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that anyone who has a PIP breast implant can request to have it removed. But the problem is that this has not been the experience for many women with PIP implants, even those who know that their implants have ruptured. Many applications have been turned down, leaving women with this ticking time bomb in their body, not able to afford to get them removed privately, worried about them rupturing further, experiencing clear side effects, and then not only suffering themselves through no fault of their own, but also costing more to the NHS through the treatments that are needed. For those who've had their implants privately, and this is another shocking fact of this whole issue, Mr. Deputy Speaker, all the major clinics treating PIP victims have avoided paying compensation by financially restructuring, changing their name, then opening again with another name on the same premises, with the same medical records for the same patients, with the same staff. How can this be allowed? Now, I know that many women affected by this are watching or reading this debate, and I would urge them to contact the Patient Safety Commissioner and tell her what they have experienced. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I know that the Minister wasn't a minister at the time this all happened initially, but the support that victims of this scandal are receiving now can be changed. I know that she is professionally experienced in this area, and I thank her for her interest in this issue up to now. I fervently hope she can take a personal interest in looking into this scandal, into the reality of how women that have been affected can be supported, that justice can be done, and the predicted deaths from cancer can be stopped. I'd like to ask the Minister to follow up on the debate today by meeting with me and with members of the PIP Campaign Action Group. And I'd like to end with a list of 9 actions that I would like the government to take. I have quite a few more questions, but I'll save them for our meeting. Please review and act on the Patterson inquiry and the Cumberledge reviews in the light of this scandal and recommendations they make about patient information, about complaints, recall, ongoing care and compensation. Secondly, please look at funding research into BIA, ALCL, and creating and maintaining a national tissue bank of BIA, ALCL cases, including full genome sequencing, as recommended by the Plastic Reconstructive and Aesthetic Surgery Expert Advisory Group. Thirdly, please ask the MHRA to investigate the evidence of the cancer link further and to change its guidance accordingly. So fourthly, to change the guidance on the government website. Give women all the information they need.
Exactly.
Fifth, to change the guidance on the implants themselves to carry stronger warnings. 6, to set up this register for all women affected.
Yes.
Proactively use this register to offer them full medical checkup and advice about their implants and tell them about the risks of all the illnesses as well as cancer. 7, to offer these women removal of the implant and capsules. I know that this surgery carries risks and there is a balance of risk to be made, but it's information and options that women need. And 8th, to pursue those companies for compensation for the women affected and stop this loophole that means that companies can shut down in one name and are not liable but carry on and operating with the same patients from the same building. And lastly, to hold an inquiry into how all of this scandal happened so that the best support and treatment is given now to women who are affected and so that it could never happen again.
Absolutely.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm grateful to the Minister for the interest she's taken in this, and I hope that this debate is the start of real action, taken at speed, to make up for the years of failure. Thank you.
Minister Maria Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Can I congratulate the Honourable Lady for Putney for bringing forward this important debate on supporting women with PIP breast implants. I'd like to begin by expressing my sympathies to the women who have suffered as a result of exposure to substandard PIP implants. And when it was found that PIP had fraudulently changed the filler material used in their implants, they were withdrawn from use immediately in the United Kingdom back in 2010. And it is time, and it is true, as with all medical devices, that there are some risks associated with any breast implant. And the MHRA, who are the UK regulator for medicines and medical devices, monitor all incidences that are reported to them, making sure that these incidences are investigated fully and necessary action is taken. And it is the case that the MHRA worked at the time with the NHS and other health partners to ensure this specific issue was thoroughly investigated. They've undertaken extensive engagement work with PIP campaign groups, such as the PIP Action Campaign Group, and they're committed to ongoing engagement with patients affected. PIP implants were found to have a higher risk of rupture than other implants, with a rupture rate roughly about twice that of other types of implants. And this does often lead to unpleasant symptoms such as pain, hardness of the breast, and swollen lymph glands, and many of the other side effects that she has referred to in her speech. However, there is no evidence that ruptured implants can cause serious long-term health risks, whether that's PIP implants or other type of implants as well. But there is no doubt that they do cause side effects when a rupture does happen. And I will give way.
Thank you, Minister, for engaging in this topic, and I know that you do know about this field. So can you explain, can the Minister please explain why it is that both France and Sweden over a decade ago both withdrew this device and facilitated the changing process?
Minister.
Yeah, sure. So I will come on to that, and as I outlined earlier, that we did stop immediately their use in 2010, and for the 47,000 women who had PIP implants, which were mainly implanted in private clinics, they are able to come forward now and have those implants removed on the NHS if their doctor agrees. Many women have done that, and that's to either avoid the risk of rupture of their implant or to prevent a rupture if they're concerned that that's something that may happen. But turning to the Honourable Lady's request for an inquiry, she's highlighted in her speech, but there have been independent reviews which have been conducted. They were expertly led by Earl Howe in 2012, and Sir Bruce Keogh did too in 2012 and in 2013. And the department has led a programme of works to ensure that those recommendations from all those reviews have been implemented, which includes a set of actions to stop this happening again. And we've made sure that cosmetic surgery is effectively regulated now going forward, ensuring only doctors who are registered with the GMC can perform surgical procedures. And we've also put in a number of measures in place that require all surgeons offering cosmetic procedures that they follow those guidelines. And the CQC now have a duty to rate and assess the performance of providers of surgical cosmetic procedures to ensure they meet fully the standards of safety and quality that's expected, and the enforcement actions taken where that is not met. As the Honourable Lady for Putney also highlighted, the Breast and Cosmetic Implant Registry was established in 2016. So now going forward, this collects details on every implant so that affected women can be traced and contacted in the event of a product recall or safety concern. The difficulty in retrospectively doing that is that many of those procedures were done in private clinics where there's simply not the access to that information. It was either not recorded at the time, or if it was recorded is difficult to access. But the registry going forward covers the NHS and private sectors now, so that would not happen today, and it covers England, Scotland and Northern Ireland as well. The lessons that have been learnt from the work on PIP and the recommendations made by Baroness Cumberledge in her report on medical devices have been used to drive wider-ranging improvements. NHS England now has speciality level clinical steering boards for the top 10 medical devices that are implanted, which is around 80% of the implants that are now used. And these boards now drive forward in improvements for implants in a range of medical devices, and the medical device registry to ensure relevant patients can be traced and contacted if problems do exist. Just to focus on the MHRA themselves, they are intending to drive this forward further by improving traceability of medical devices through the unique device identifier and implant cards. Again, these weren't available at the time that this happened. And the Medicines Medical Devices Act of 2021 also introduces powers that allow the MHRA to improve its transparency with respect to safety issues concerning medical devices. As the Honourable Lady also indicated, we do now have the Plastic Reconstructive and Aesthetic Surgery Expert Advice Group, again looking for issues around implants or other medical devices used in aesthetic surgery. So again, that we would pick up on issues around further implants in the future that was not available back in 2010. In terms of the breast cancer element, and this is really important for women to know, and I absolutely take the Honourable Lady's point about making that information more readily available, and I will take away her point around the black box labels that the FDA are using in the US to see if we do need to improve the information available for women, because any breast implant has the potential to cause a very rare form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma called breast implant-associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma. It's not a breast cancer, but it's a very rare form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that grows in response to the body's reaction to a breast implant. So it's not specifically related to PIP. It can actually be a small risk for any breast implant. The MHRA has issued guidance for people with breast implants, but I take the Honourable Lady's point that women need to be informed of that small risk when deciding to go for a cosmetic procedure, and that's something that will certainly follow up after this debate. I will give way.
Thank you, and I thank the Minister for her reassurance about what will happen now. I'm just thinking back to those women who have been affected, and it's very hard to trace them. I take that point. Would it be possible for the Minister to look at asking GPs if they will know if women have had implants, and so that women can be contacted and informed about these links with the cancer through that means, if through no other?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it is important to make sure that women who've had breast implants in the past are reassured if they've had a PIP implant and have that opportunity to come forward. As part of the Women's Health Strategy, we are developing a space on the NHS website specifically for women's health, so it's a go-to informed place, and I'm very happy to raise with officials to see if we can have some information as we're developing that this year to make sure that information is there. As I said, PIP implants do have a higher risk of rupture, but not necessarily a higher risk of the lymphoma that we've talked about. But there is a small risk with any breast implant, and we need to make that clear to women. In terms of the company that produced these implants, they were the third biggest supplier of breast implants in the world. And they went into liquidation in 2010, and the founder was convicted of aggravated fraud and sentenced to prison for 4 years. So the company absolutely had to take responsibility for its actions. I do take the point on board that women who've had these implants can have their implants removed, but they need to know that that is available to them. And I'm very happy to work with her to see if we can improve that advice and information for women going forward.